Everyone at Crestview Towers knew Laura Bennett as the cleaning lady on night shift. She wore gloves 2 sizes too big and kept her head down. Residents barely noticed her as she emptied trash bins and polished marble floors that cost more than her monthly paycheck. What no one knew was that Laura wasn't working for the money. She was working for clarity. At 11:40 p.m. on a Thursday, Laura pushed her cart toward the private elevators reserved for penthouse residents. The security guard waved her through without looking up. He'd seen her every night for months. The elevator doors open on the top floor. Penthouse 4A, her husband's home. Laura stepped out silently, wheeling her cart across the carpet. She hadn't planned to come tonight, but earlier that day, she'd seen a credit card alert on her phone. A champagne purchase. 2 glasses. Room service. Laura hadn't been home. She reached the door and heard laughter inside. A woman's laugh. Young, carefree, unafraid. Laura didn't knock. She pulled her phone out, tapped record, and slid the door open just enough to see. Her husband, Mark Bennett, stood barefoot near the couch, shirt undone. A woman in silk lingerie was straddling him, her back to the door. "Relax," the woman said. "Your wife's just a cleaner, right?" Mark laughed. "She wouldn't even understand what this place costs." Laura's hands didn't shake. She zoomed in. Laura had been married to Mark for 7 years. To the outside world, Mark was a self-made tech executive. Ambitious, brilliant, respected. To Laura, he had once been kind. But success changed him. When Laura suggested downsizing, he laughed. When she questioned late nights, he dismissed her. When she stopped attending charity events, he said she was bad for optics. What he didn't know was that Laura had stepped back on purpose. She wanted to see who he became when he thought she was powerless. At 12:06 a.m., the woman left the penthouse wearing Laura's robe. Laura followed quietly, still recording. In the elevator, the woman checked her reflection and smiled. "Tell Mark I'll text him tomorrow," she said, assuming Laura was staff. Laura nodded politely. "Of course." The doors closed. Laura went home, not to the penthouse, but to a modest apartment across town. She removed a uniform, poured a glass of wine, and opened a secure laptop. The folder already existed. Evidence, Phase 1. She uploaded the footage. Then she opened another file. Bennett Holdings, Dependency Report. Mark's company was struggling. Investors were nervous. Banks were stalling. What kept it alive was a quiet private lender. A lender Mark had never met. Laura leaned back and whispered, "You shouldn't have underestimated me." For years, Laura Bennett had been invisible by choice. Before marrying Mark, she had inherited a controlling stake in Hawthorne Capital, a private investment firm valued in the billions. She never used the name publicly, never bragged, never corrected assumptions. She wanted love without leverage. Now she had proof that love didn't exist. At 8 a.m. the next morning, Mark sat in his glass office, shouting at his CFO. "Our credit line vanished overnight," the CFO said. Every lender pulled out. Mark froze. "That's impossible." At the same moment, Laura swiped her badge at Crestview Towers. Still in uniform, she cleaned the lobby slowly, listening as residents whispered about breaking news. Bennett Tech stock suspended pending review. Laura finished her shift, clocked out, and walked directly into a different building across the city. No uniform, no gloves. She entered a boardroom where 12 executives stood immediately. "Good morning, Ms. Hawthorne," one said. Laura nodded. "Proceed." The screen lit up. Bennett Tech, financial exposure, 92%. Laura smiled faintly. "Begin Phase 2. That evening, Mark came home furious. "The banks are sabotaging me," he ranted. "Someone's pulling strings." Laura sat calmly at the kitchen table. "You look tired," she said. Mark scoffed. "What would you know?" Laura stood. "Actually," she said, reaching into her bag, "quite a lot." She placed printed documents on the counter. Loan agreements, trust signatures, ownership percentages. Mark skimmed the first page, then the second, then his face went white. "This is fake," he whispered. Laura met his eyes. I own the firm funding your company, she said. I always have. Mark laughed weakly. You clean floors. I observe behavior, Laura replied. Much more valuable. She pressed play on her phone. The woman's laughter filled the room. Mark collapsed into a chair. You were spying on me? No, Laura said. I was confirming. By Monday, Mark was removed as CEO. By Wednesday, investors demanded his resignation from the board. The mistress disappeared. The media swarmed. Laura never gave interviews. She simply released documents, emails, expense reports, recorded conversations. Mark tried to threaten her. She countered with lawsuits. He tried to apologize. She countered with silence. On Friday, Laura walked into Crestview Towers, not in uniform, but in a tailored black suit. Residents stared. The security guard froze. Ma'am. She smiled. I own 3 units here. She rode the elevator to the penthouse. Her penthouse. Laura sold Mark shares. She donated a wing to a women's shelter. She kept the penthouse empty. Power, she learned, didn't feel like revenge. It felt like peace. Months later, Laura passed a cleaning crew in a hotel lobby. She made eye contact. She nodded. The woman nodded back. Laura stepped outside, phone buzzing with another acquisition alert. They had laughed at the cleaning lady. They never realized the billionaire was watching everything. If you enjoy billionaire betrayal stories where silence is sharper than screaming, where patience beats confrontation, subscribe now. We upload daily, and the next story is even darker.